Okay. Hello, welcome to a special Riot Act with me, Stephen Hill. I'm here with the boss, the man,
A boss.
the boss, the main man from the main band. It's
What up?
It's back. Last time I spoke to you, Mr. Jami Morgan of Code Orange, in case you hadn't read the description of this video, we were a week away from the release of your record, and then
Yeah.
the whole world went to shit. It's been a mad. I mean, particularly why I wanted to talk to you, because it's been a mad fucking year, and that like sort of turn of events feels like one of the maddest things. So to start off, how's it been?
I mean, it's been all right. I mean, the way we've been looking at it is, it's like this for everybody. So it timed out with our record poorly, but it's time. And this is not even trying to be like whatever, but it really has timed out for everyone's life poorly. There's nothing that's like worked out for anyone, especially in when we're talking about the arts particularly, but just in life in general, everyone's jobs, like people in my family lost their jobs. Two of the people in my family lost their jobs. I mean, so this is just how it is. But I think we just tried to look at it as, okay, well, here's an opportunity to showcase our creativity and do stuff that there's no way we would have done if we were in the tour grind. And it's definitely halted some things we wanted. It's halted a lot of our goals of growth, I think. But in terms of being able to be creative and like put the stamp on the fact that we're the most creative, one of the most creative bands out there for sure, no question, if not the most, then this has given us the chance to do that. So
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely an argument to be had for every band who released an album or any music this year that they were planning to. I mean, we'll probably talk about these kind of extracurricular things that bands have been doing that probably wouldn't have happened without COVID, and that's obviously a different thing. Like, would we have got the Taylor Swift album without this virus? Probably not. So it's not all bad news. But for the bands who had planned to release a record, I do feel like, I mean, particularly for you guys, it feels like the head of steam that was built up in the sort of the run up to Underneath coming out, and then when the record came out and everyone finally heard it, and it felt like the reviews were just incredible. And it was that day that you guys were meant to be playing the record launch show, right?
yeah, March 14th, the record came out March 13th, and it was like going to be not just the record launch show, but the first show of like the whole new lineup. Like we had a new drummer, I'm singing, we're doing everything completely differently live, and we worked on it for like a really long time.
And what was that day like when you realized that you weren't going to be able to do the show in the way that you were planning on doing it? Like, because I know
It was a couple days. Well, it was a couple days before. Yeah.
Right. Okay. But you guys, I mean, have we spoken a bunch of times before? Like, people will probably know you plan shit out like to military precision. So that must have been like, I mean, well, yeah. Talk me through it. What was the conversation like? How did it all go down?
Yeah, we do definitely plan shit out really thoroughly, but I think we're also good at. We're not like we've been like a touring band, a DIY touring band, which again, I think most people who will watch this or read an interview or publication or see us now don't really have an understanding of what that means, because most forms of even metal or heavy music or music in general don't do touring the way that punk bands and hardcore bands do it,
Yeah.
And so we're very, very used to having things change, having things go wrong, things not being the way we want them to be. That is like our whole career of touring and, being on the road and things going wrong every single day, and never have, we never had a crew. This was going to be the first tour we even had a couple people as like a crew. We were doing Slipknot arenas with Slipknot where we had no crew. I mean, we had one person who was our friend, and we were trying to rush all the stuff on stage and figure out, and all of that on the fly. And so it's kind of the same situation. Like sometimes you plan it out and things go wrong. But yeah, I think we plan things thoroughly, but we also can change like on the drop of a hat and go to work hard really thoroughly too. We don't get so rattled, which I think and we don't give up. So I'm proud of that. And it's even more so than it's like my guys don't give up, I'll think of, okay, let's try to do this, and everyone tries to figure out how we can do it. I mean, we'll debate about it for sure, and like be like, is that worth it, whatever. But a couple days before, we just realized like, okay, this isn't going to happen the way it was supposed to happen. So what can we make out of it? So I instantly just called my guy I talked to Roadrunner to see if they could help us facilitate the actual streaming element. And then I called my guy Sonny from the website Hate56, who's kind of been like documenting the hardcore scene for like many years, and he's an amazing videographer, like honestly the best live videographer in the world right now. And he comes from our world, so I called him and I was like, "Can you get here in like 3 days? And can we figure this out and put a crew together?" And we did it, and he did it, and that was because of him and because of my guys and Reba figuring out so many of the logistics. And we had a couple of our friends there to be a crew. Zach from Bane is actually the guitarist of Bane's one of the main people in our crew, so he was there for us. Yeah, and so we just rolled with the punches, and I think it turned out to be really special.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I was like, this isn't meant to be a backhanded compliment or anything, but I was genuinely surprised that I'm never surprised that you guys deliver, but I have to admit I was pretty like, I mean, fuck, this feels like a live DVD being recorded.
Yeah.
There's nobody there.
Yeah.
Get that shit locked down in what, like 48 hours, 72 hours, something like that.
Yeah.
That's pretty even by your own standards of like, we have to get things right. That was pretty astonishing, I think.
Yeah, that's honestly that is mainly due to one, having somebody like Sonny and good people around us, the work we were down to put in through those days to make it happen. But the real key, I think, was the preparation we had done for the tour and for the show. We were so staunch on wanting to have like the version that we could afford of like a show. So every second of music, Shade and I had made visuals to, and we had planned on renting this kind of small screen thing that we were going to bring for the tour, because we were really wanted to add the visual element to the tour. So by spending so much time on preparing for that, when it came, it was like a no-brainer. Like, okay, can we do this overlaying content kind of thing, which is what we ended up doing, that made it feel like what you're describing, I think. And the preparation we had done musically, we had worked it to the bone, so it was there. And so everything we were doing for the tour, it just paid off like right away. Like the visuals probably got seen more in this than they would have ever even been seen on the tour. So it was kind of like a blessing. There's been a lot of blessings in disguise. There's been a lot of like things that were negative towards us, like for us with this, but there's been a lot of blessings in disguise for sure. And that's one of them. People got to see the visual side and the show that Shade and I put together. So
yeah, that's cool. I was going to ask as well, like, being as that, the album came out and it feels like, it was literally kind of a few days later that the whole world sort of started to lock down. Did you get a chance to sort of enjoy the fact that the record had come out? Because I think, that's a big, when an album comes out for a band, particularly when it's a record that was received in the way that Underneath was received, bands usually get like a little period of grace where they can kind of sit back and go, look, people actually like the record. Did you get a chance to do that? What with everything that was going on?
no, I was looking at it and stuff, but no, but honestly, with the schedule we had planned, that wasn't probably going to happen anyway, because it was going to be such a grind. We can always, you can smell the roses as much as you want to, but for us, it's a blessing and a curse again, but like we always want more, so it never really feels as good as it maybe looks in retrospect for us. Like there's been some moments I can point to like, wow, that was a great moment, but it's mostly just like a blur of trying to push forward and do the next thing and be as good as we can be. And I feel like something, just from reading books or watching movies or whatever, or documentaries, I think that's something that's pretty common with like people that are trying to achieve a goal. It's not really anything special. It's like if your head's in a goal, everything's a blur. You know, it's tunnel vision. You've seen it described in any fucking documentary about anyone you've ever seen. You know, that's hopefully accomplished something. So it's just tunnel vision, goggles on, make it happen. I was really happy. Like, yeah, most of the reviews and all that were really positive. I felt like it was the record was like understood to at least a certain extent, like to at least a basic extent, as much as you can ask for as quickly as people review stuff, which is, you know, they get it and they review it right away.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was happy about it, but it was just about, okay, now we got to be great on this. Then we're going to have to go right into this headline tour. And there was a lot of logistics for that we were still figuring out. And then boom, right into, we were doing Slipknot and Coachella and other stuff. So it was all kinds of, you know, boom, 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 ready to go.
As well, I suppose, you know, having to, once you did the kind of the live stream the first time, was that then, you know, all of your plans are suddenly, if not cancelled straight away, they're put to one side, aren't they? And I suppose you then have to go, right, well, what do we do instead of that? Like, how quickly did you, because you were basically, I mean, I think you've called yourselves the innovators of live streaming, which I think is a fair thing to say.
I think it is.
Yeah. At what point did you go, okay, well then there's going to be more of these? Because obviously we're going to be talking about the next one in a minute, which we're building up to. But you guys have been basically from even slightly before lockdown doing something online for people throughout this entire pandemic, basically.
Yeah, I mean, first it was like, okay, we did this stream, and then we went to doing the next idea was the You and You Alone series, which was going to be like our Twitch series. So we started working towards that. But the idea was always like, okay, let's make, like, our concept behind live streaming is kind of this. For the big, we wanted kind of like the big events to be like our anchors and each have their own themes and something for people to grasp onto. And we would create a whole visual element, a cinematic element, because I feel like that's a lot of what's missing from a lot of other live streams is that element and making that refreshing and entertaining. So it's not just watching people play in a room, which is extremely boring pretty much in any context, for me at least. But we wanted that to kind of be our big events, and then the You and You Alones to kind of be our bridges, like our TVs and our pay-per-views or something, you know?
Yeah.
So it was kind of built that way. And then once we kind of came across the idea for the second one, and that was amongst many ideas. I mean, I have a board in my room, I'm sure they do too, of ideas beyond just the streaming stuff, whether it was remixes, stuff, collaborations we were doing with other people, a movie that we were working on, other music videos, just stuff to different projects to just try to, you know, what we were hoping for going into this record was this train that I feel like we had all had to be like on the back of, you know, pushing up this hill. We were going to get to the top of the hill and then the momentum was going to carry it. And instead we got to the top of the hill and we just saw another hill, you know, and you can decide pretty much right then. It's like, do you want to turn around and give up? Because the work we put in going into this record, that there's no real way to like document, which maybe we should have filmed it or something, but we didn't, to explain how much work that was and how mentally taxing that was on everybody. The way we had looked at it was like the touring was like the momentum. It's like, boom, now we did the work and we just do the touring, and the touring will be fun and we'll get to like do our thing and show people, and momentum will carry itself for once. You know, we won't have to think of so many ideas to try to just keep pushing that cart up the hill. And then, yeah, you get to the top of the hill and it's just more hills. So it was just like, yeah, what are we going to do? All right, well, we got to keep going. We got to keep pushing, and we got to think of some new shit. So then the idea kind of came early on. And then when, you know, Reba kind of came up with the basic idea for the second live stream, Under the Skin, which we did in July, just in terms of doing like something kind of like an MTV Unplugged kind of thing. And then I kind of added in the idea of bringing the kind of surrealist, like the kind of like horror VHS, like found footage kind of element to it, and trying to the pre-show and these other things. And then it just kind of spiraled from there. I was like, all right, now we know what our next anchor is. Let's build around that. And the same thing with the one that we have coming up on Halloween, Back Inside the Glass. That was kind of always set to be our third thing. And there was a whole idea around that was basic. So past that, I don't fucking know, but we'll see.
Well, dude, I want to speak to you about Under the Skin, because had you ever done anything like that before? Because I've got to say, again, on paper, hardcore bands, how many fucking hardcore bands could do an acoustic set of their own material and pull it off? Yeah. I am struggling to think of one. So when I was like,
yeah.
the MTV Unplugged, like Knocked Loose Unplugged, no, nobody would want that. Do you know what I mean? Like fucking, I don't like Agnostic Front. Like it's that just.
Well, I think we're different because people know that we have a batch of songs that are geared in a certain direction on almost every single record, even much more so on this record. So I think it's an easier bridge for us because we've built that into the records even since the first record we ever did, you know. So it was helpful. It's like there's translatable stuff like boom, like that. Okay, take 3 songs off every record and we have a set, you know. And if we want to do more off this one, we have even more off this one. So it was like we just have to figure out how to that's what took a lot of the time on that show, was like transcribing them, basically turning them into new songs, and turning them into something that's not just, okay, let's play all of this like acoustic, but like reworking some of the structures and all the layering and making it, you know, translatable and trying to make it good, trying to learn how to like sing better in like a month, which was hard, but yeah.
Dude, like, and there's so many, like I watched that, I've watched the whole thing, and for someone my age, you know, over the older generation, there were so many fucking Easter eggs in there from like the glory period of MTV. I mean, I know you got like Ricky Rackman in there, and just the way that it was set up, and you know the same kind of the not only the Alice in Chains cover, but the Nirvana-y Alice in Chains-y setup that you guys had. It was just, there were so many little bits in there that I was like, again, this has not just been thrown, this has been meticulously thought about. And I have to say,
for sure, I
appreciated that.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, it was like, to me, it was like, okay, what if MTV Unplugged was in, and this is what I told Ricky too, and when I wrote everything out for him, was in like a horror movie, you know, as opposed to, so we had and I don't think everybody really even picked up on that. Maybe we could have highlighted that element more because they just kind of saw the MTV Unplugged part, most people, which I definitely get. But we also shot a 30-minute long, it's actually on the DVD we just released, like found footage type horror movie based on like the character from our record. And we intercut that throughout the whole show. And even in all the build-up stuff, all the promo we made, you know, and what I told Ricky, it's like, it's almost like be you, but be like controlled by some external force at times, and then snap back into being you, you know, and we'll edit it in this kind of horror kind of way. Because we thought that would be a cool twist on it instead of it, you know, we didn't want it to be just, and again, I don't know if we did this the right way, but we wanted it to be a little bit of, definitely a throwback, but as always, you know, we wanted it to have that push and pull, like a little bit of stuff people are maybe, even if they're not familiar with, is like cool and comforting and interesting. And that's why, you know, I watched all the unplugs and definitely took notes and tried to incorporate elements like that, but then add this kind of horror element, this found footage element, this like the electronic element that we incorporated in all the songs too, with the layering and effects and making, you know, with all the loops in the set. Our loops are normally very extreme and loud and peak, and the kind of the thing was like, okay, let's make all the loops opposite, like quiet and peaceful, but in kind of like a strange, disorienting way. And Shade experimented with a lot of cool things, like there's bugs on the screen. I don't know, people can see that, but there's literally a lot, you know, we filmed that stuff, and then he filmed his TV with bugs on the actual TV, and that's kind of what you see for some of the footage. So we were just experimenting with a lot of like visual and cinematic elements too. But yeah, I think hopefully both sides of that were done justice.
Why down in the hole as well? Down in the hole, sorry, down in the hole, down in a hole. That's
Yeah.
a tough one to take on. That is a tough song to cover.
Yeah, for sure. That was definitely the toughest one. To me, I don't know if people view it this way, but to me, that was like the classic quintessential song from my favorite MTV Unplugged, which was the Alice in Chains one. And it was like, yo, let's take on the hardest one. Not just the hardest one, but the most classic, the most the one people remember the most. And let's just try. And that was right away. And then also my mind, I wanted, and again, I don't know, sometimes I have these like ideas within the idea that don't really come across on the surface, but and that's probably my own fault for not presenting it clear enough. But down in the hole, we have our song "Swallowing the Rabbit Hole," and there's all these kind of themes of that. So you can hear in the electronics and in the visuals and stuff. I wanted to kind of combine those songs. That's why for a while we were calling it "Down in the Hole" with a W, but then we were told we weren't allowed to do that anymore. But just to tie it into what we were doing also and kind of bring it back to the themes of our record. And so Shade using a lot of the sampling from that song, and we filmed a lot that involved that. So all those reasons all combined basically.
So it was, and to get, I mean, fucking hell, singing like Lane Staley is a tough ask for anyone, but you guys got as close. You pulled it off, so well done. I mean,
Thank you. We tried, man. I was nervous about that. I normally feel confident, obviously, like on stage, but me and Reba practice a lot. And obviously we're not like let me be straight up, like we're not singers like that at all. That guy's unbelievable. Jerry has an unbelievable voice too. I think technically a lot better than either of our voices, we would both say. But we wanted to give it a shot. So why not? Like, we're not scared. Like, if we fuck up and it's not that great, then whatever, it's not that great. Like, what's the worst that's gonna happen? People are gonna make fun of you. Like, whatever. Who cares,
Yeah. So Halloween.
Yeah.
I know you're not going to tell me much about this because I know it's not your way to give away too many secrets or give people too much of a peek behind the curtain. But what is planned for the next Code Orange Spectacular on Halloween? Which is, do you want to give it what's the time and date and all that kind of? Well, the date I've given the 31st. But go on.
Yes, it's the 31st. It's 4 p.m. EST. So I think it's going to be 8 in the UK because of the time change, and I think 10 in Europe. It's either 9 or 10 in Europe. But this will be the first stream that we've done that people in the UK and Europe can watch. Hopefully at a reasonable hour and won't be so late. Our first one was at 9 p.m. and the last one was at 7 or 8. So we wanted to make sure we did that this time. But it's called Back Inside the Glass. It originally started as a idea where we were going to bring people into the fold in real life as audience members. That obviously fell apart as this thing keeps getting worse and worse. But what we landed on was, I think it's going to be by far the most visually spectacular and interesting and entertaining thing that we've done so far. I will explain it a little bit, and I will explain it because, as I was saying previously, I think we definitely do a good job of keeping things, uh, a little bit of a mystery or, exciting for people who like us. But I think we need to bring more people into some of these ideas so they can understand them a little more. So I'll try to explain it. But long story short, what it's going to be is we're calling it a live stream environmental experience because it's going to be us playing in an environment that we've built, basically, in which it's going to appear in a very in a not non-green screen, like a very realistic, real way that we're playing in all these different environments. That some come from our record, some come from all corners of the things we've done. So visually, it's going to be almost closer to something like a futuristic art installation or like a crazy like science center show or like a haunted house. It's going to be like all those things kind of combined. I think it's going to be again, we're taking a risk a little bit because it's different than what we've done the last 2 times. It's gonna visually feel, I think, sleeker and closer in some ways. It's still gonna have the complete raw live element 100%, and we're gonna be playing actually a lot of our harder and more raw songs, but it's gonna feel closer, I feel like, in a lot of ways to like a music video or like a movie in the way that we're gonna do it. And I think it's gonna be really, really cool. On top of that, we got 3 bands that were supposed to be on our tour who I love opening the show. Machine Girl, who live here, and they're like this insane electronic punk like duo. But they have a lot of melody, and they're really like, I don't even know if they do on purpose, but there's a lot to grasp onto. It's not just noise that goes by. There's melody, and it's really interesting. Year of the Knife, who just put a record out, the same kind of hardship we had, and it's an awesome hardcore record.
Yeah, it's good.
Jesus, yeah, it's sick. And Jesus Peace, who have been kicking around for a while, and they're a great band coming up too. And I know they're working on new stuff. So the goal is to give them, those 3 bands, more cinematic sets in the way that we've done in the past. Okay. And so right away, you're going to get more than you're going to get on a normal live stream. You're going to get that upped quality of, you know, some visual elements, some outside things, you know. And then when you get to our set, we're going to take you to a whole new place that we haven't done in our last 2 streams. So I think it's going to be a really exciting, entertaining show. We're really aiming for it to be the best, hopefully the best live stream there's been by anyone during this pandemic, especially the best with the least amount of money. So I'll say that. Might not be the best with the most amount of money, but the best with the least.
Have you been watching it? I mean, presumably just for research purposes, at least you've watched a lot of live streams. Are there any that you've seen that have really stood out to you? Because there's been a lot, right?
Yeah, there's been a lot. I mean, Corey's my boy, and I think he did a really good job. And it was more like a big time stage show, which is also awesome. But it's definitely different than like what we're trying to do, which is, you know, his is more like if you're standing in the crowd and watching his giant stage show, what it would be like, which I think is a lot better than what a lot of people are doing, which is just doing like a lesser version of what it is they would do, because they can't, because it's difficult to figure out how to pull off. And if you're not super DIY minded and you're not giant, there is no way to pull it off in a way that's not just you in a room doing something really boring. You have to be super DIY and figure out how to, like I said, we built this environment we're going to play in ourselves. We made all the content. We made all the promo. If you go to the fucking website of this show, Reba coded the whole website on our store. We made every single graphic. So if you're not willing to get DIY like that, shit costs money. Yeah. And there's not a lot of ways to make money through this in a good way. Kids and people have a very, very large misunderstanding of how money works in a lot of this shit. And this is part of the reason we're doing tickets this time. One, because we wanted to up the ante visually, which we are, and have other bands, which we are. But 2, because it's just not, you can't facilitate it for free if you're trying to keep upping it. Yeah. And that's with genuinely us doing 90% of this stuff totally DIY. I mean, on our own. And we have a great young kid who is now our lights guy and helps work with our production, who is really young and really good. And we're helping build each other up as well. So, you know, I feel like you got to get that, you have to have that do-it-yourself spirit to pull these off, unless you are ready to lose a shit ton of money or you're super big. And I mean, you got to be really big, because I know a lot of people are losing money that are big, that are doing these. A lot of people are. So, you know, have I seen any that I like? Not really. I mean, like I said, Corey's, I thought he did a great job, and he's been one of our biggest supporters, and he's killing it.
It's just a shame.
Have I seen anybody I like? Yeah. What'd you say?
It's just a shame he had to play songs from his terrible record. But anyway, I guess he kind of had to do that. But yeah, you're being very, very diplomatic there, Jamie. I know.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
That's my boy. That's my boy. Straight up. And
of
you know,
course.
a lot of people, I won't suck and fucking say that's my boy or anything like that, but that's my boy. He really, it's not just him. Clown too, Jay. They had us on that tour, but it's not just that. They've had us on a lot of stuff. They're the only big band who has done, I mean, I don't want to say only, I mean, it depends what you're calling big, but big band that's done shit for us or is trying to do shit for us or gets what we're doing at all and likes what we're doing. I mean, you talked before air, you know, a lot of these bigger bands, I know for a fact they don't like what we're doing and they don't get it. And these guys, they fucking get it, man. So what, all love to those guys, because I'm always ready to go on the offensive against anybody, you know, but you won't see that from us on them in any respect.
Well, I mean, they're a pretty good band to be having in your corner, and it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense because
And they don't need to do it. They have no reason to do it. What does it benefit them to do it? It's like some bands you could say, yeah, bringing Code Orange along might make them seem cool or in the mix or whatever. They're always going to be in the mix. They're always going to be cool. So what does it matter? That's why you don't see a lot of the big bands doing that with anybody, because why do they need to do it? It doesn't really benefit them. And maybe it benefits them the slightest bit, you know, there's like that element of like, but not enough to do it, to do what they were doing. And, you know, they were, and I'll say this too, on that tour, they were paying us more than anyone who's had us open up has paid us, way more. You know, like they were making it livable for us and doable for us, which most bands never do. They say, here's your crumb, take it or leave it. You don't want it? Sorry, next guy. That's always how it is. And I get that and I understand that, but they ain't like that. So anyway, they don't need any more press. They're good. I do. So let's go.
I don't want to be like, oh, you know, here's what you could have won or whatever, but had this pandemic not have happened, all right, actually, I'm going to rephrase this question. All those things that we spoke about Code Orange doing before this hit, and we expected to happen, we believed were going to happen. Like, you know, we've spoken on the podcast, me and Renfrey, you and I have spoken. I've spoken a lot about you guys to the point where I deliberately now have to keep my mouth shut because people are.
No, you don't. Fuck that. Yeah, they might. No, I get it. And people do. I'm sure you get that, but it's like, one, I really appreciate that. You already know that. That's why I'm not saying it. But so the kids know, I really appreciate it. But two, it's true. So fuck them. You know what I'm saying? If people don't like it, they'll see at the end of the day. And I think that you got to say what you believe. And it's not like we're fucking standing on this mountaintop where we don't need it. We do need it. Every time you say that, there's probably somebody who doesn't know who we always heard it. The core people that you play to have heard it and they've decided and they're done. But there's new people out there, especially you have many platforms. So do a lot of these guys. So I always appreciate that because yeah, people do get some heat for saying the same stuff about the same bands. But if it's true, it's true. And if it's not, it's not, and time will tell, you know? And I believe it's true. So I appreciate that it needs to happen. And that doesn't happen often, you know? So.
Well, I mean, what I was going to say was all the stuff that we said was going to happen or that we wanted to happen and we believed would happen off the back of this record. Are they still going to happen, do you think?
I mean, it's up to the kids. I think we're making a lot of great progress and we've definitely gotten bigger. We've definitely sold more records than we ever have. We definitely are doing way better than we ever have. So in terms of everything except for, you know, touring and stuff like that, on all of our metrics or whatever you want to call it, creatively, I think we're hitting it on every level. But what is a band that you've seen during this time that's gotten way bigger than when it started? Is there a single one? No, there's not. No. I mean, I can answer it for you. There's not, because it's nearly impossible. Have we gotten bigger since it started? 100%, absolutely. You can look at all of our shit and see it. I mean, is there a lot more people who know about us? Yes. Is it the amount that I want? Absolutely not. Is it where we wanted to be at this point? Absolutely not. Do I know if we would have toured it would have been different? No, I don't know. I think it would have. But there's still a lot more to come. There's a lot more time to come. There's a lot more things to come. And is it still going to happen? Again, it's up to the fucking kids. It's up to the system too. The way that it is like you're screaming through fucking Facebook and all this shit that is geared to not let that happen unless you pay. So it's very difficult, you know. But again, we keep our ear to the streets. I mean, if it ain't happening, it ain't happening. But like I said, we've had a lot of growth during this time period. You can ask fucking Roadrunner Records who's selling records every single week. We are. So, and it's not on this giant level. It's on a small level, but it's consistent and it keeps going. And that's rare. And that's not happening for a lot of the other bands. And that's a fact. So, I mean, we're growing. We're getting there. This is another step. There's some things that confuse me. I feel like, for instance, the radio game and stuff like that is not obviously won't let us in even when we do something like what we just did with Under the Skin, because it's always been it's too inaccessible past the song. You got Bleeding in the Blur or whatever, then you listen to the rest, and so that's why they wouldn't play it, right? So we went and made a whole record that is accessible, but it's awesome and it's badass. And most people who've heard it that I've seen agree. So why can't they play that one? I don't know. They don't want to play it. So we're just going to keep trying. We're just going to keep trying. I know that we're the best at what we do, and I know that we're one of the best, period. So we got to keep going. And when this shit opens up, whenever that is, we will have a leg up on everybody for sure. No question. I mean, it's not even a fucking question. So we'll see.
Well, I really hope that everything goes back to normal soon. I don't know if it will. I don't know when it will. I don't know when we'll start seeing gigs again. But it's got to happen one day. And when it does, Code Orange and Clipping co-headline tour would be the thing that I would love. Dude, but
they're great.
In the meantime, Halloween, Back Inside the Glass. What was the time again?
4 Eastern in America.
So check that if you're watching this in the UK. I'm going to be tuning in. I might live.
Well, let me say one more thing about it. One more thing we're offering, which I really think is awesome, is one of our VIP packages, again, because we're trying to think of, we don't want to do a VIP packages where it's like, oh, you just get your shirt and whatever. One, every single ticket for the show comes with an instant download of a song that's not on underneath. That's called the cutter. So every ticket you get your download right away. So I know a lot of people wait to buy tickets to these things, but we wanted to give people something they would have immediately, something that's brand new. It's not going on Spotify for the time being for a while, if at all. It's not going on streaming services. This is where it's at. If you want the song, you got to buy a ticket, and there you go. 2, the top VIP package we're doing is, and it's been fucking hard to figure out, but it's going to be really cool. It's like some Tron shit where you submit a video of yourself rocking out, doing whatever you want to do, and we are going to project that at the venue as an audience. So I will be able to see those videos and interact with it. It's not going to be you there live because this ain't the fucking NBA. And again, we're doing this on like a DIY budget, but it's going to look super cool. You'll get to see your presence. I'll get to see your presence in the room during the show. And we're going to make it look really cool. So it's going to be this whole virtual environment. But that's going to be being done in a physical sense, So I think that's really exciting. And we kept it relatively cheap for what it is. We kept it a lot cheaper than anyone else's top packages. So go grab that. It's only up. There's actually a really limited amount of spots because of what we're doing. And there's not that many left, but it's the TOTH Enforcer package. You can get it. Go to live.codeorangetoth.com. So boom.
live.codeorangetoth.com.
TOTH, brother. Come on. Dinners of the fucking herd, bro.
I'm shit at what are they called?
Spelling? I don't fucking know.
Oh, fucking I don't know. Yeah, I'm shit. I always get that fucking NBA called the BAN or fucking
the BAN. What?
I don't know, man. I think I'm dyslexic or something. Anyway, dude, good luck with it. Hopefully we get to see each other. Well, we've done this, haven't we? When are you going to get to play again? Who fucking knows? But in the meantime, yeah, man.
We'll play again. It's going to happen. But again,
of course.
And this is to other bands and shit, and I'm going to cut you off, and I'm going to let you finish. But, there's other ways to do this shit. We're showing everybody how to do it. I'm sure that other people are going to do it, and then our fans will jump in and say we did it, and those people will say we didn't do it. But we are setting the standard on how to do this in a cool way, in an interesting way from an artistic standpoint. From a commercial standpoint, other people, I think, are setting the standard on how to make money during this shit. We're not worried about how to make money during this shit. We want to put the best art forward and do literally, if we sold the maximum amount of tickets we could sell on this show, we're probably still going to lose money. It ain't about money. It's about making an artistic presence, something that couldn't happen at any other time. So it's something you need to see, So shows will happen. But for now, it's fuck shows. Forget about shows. you know, for me. And I know it's not gonna be like that for everybody, but we're gonna give you a show, something that's very gonna be fun and exciting and entertaining to watch. Not a bunch of people standing around playing their fucking instruments, you know, in a garage or in some fucking studio. It's gonna be, you're gonna have as much fun. It's a next best thing to a show. And it's cool. It's like going to see a movie. That's what this is gonna be like. So enjoy that and look forward to what can happen in that medium. And then when shows come back, it'll be even better. But that's got to be the mindset for everybody. You can't be worried about, well, what if this, what if that? Who gives a fuck? It is what it is. I mean, what are you gonna do? You know what I mean? So just keep thinking of ways to be creative and support the creativity if you can, and definitely support ours. Boom.
Amen to that. As you can probably see from watching the video, it's getting dark outside from me, so I better go now.
Yeah,
but
what the fuck? Yeah.
Man, it's like this is not part of the Code Orange virtual
Darkness is coming upon you.
Horror thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, dude, lovely to talk to you. I'll be checking it out for sure. So do that Halloween. It'll be. I'm expecting big things, and I think I'm gonna get something pretty cool because.
Oh yeah.
I always do. So
when the fuck haven't we given people shit that was cool? Even if they didn't like it, it was still cool. You know what I'm saying? It was still something. It's not gonna be it's not gonna be nothing. It's gonna be something cool. So
it's definitely gonna be something cool. All right, dude. Lovely to chat to you, and we'll catch up very soon. Yeah.
For sure.
Sure.